second U.S. Navy fighter jet nearly shot down, quote unquote, nearly shot down. This is happening after we have seen the fast one that happened a day ago, where U.S. claimed that the friendly fire took down one fighter jet, even though the pilot he managed to eject from the jet. Nevertheless, the FA-18 fighter jet was crashed or was destroyed by this quote-unquote friendly fire. What is happening at the moment? We have to actually talk about this particular news when we raise this topic and want to discuss more, because this person, his name is Mahmud al-Bukhaiti. He is a member of the Houthi group's political bureau, and he gave an interview to Al Jazeera, and he basically said, quote unquote, our attacks confused the US's air defenses and caused the country's fighter plane to crash due to friendly fire, quote unquote. He said, Press TV reports. What he is claiming, Muhammad al-Bukhaiti, Houthis political bureau member, is that the Houthis, they did not fire any missile or drone in order to destroy that fighter jet. Instead, it was because of the overwhelming number of drones and projectiles coming into the radars of U.S. Navy fleets. They could not detect the actual problem, the actual issue, if you like. So because of the radar being so overwhelmed, they thought, or they have mistaken one missile, or they have mistaken one particular blob, if you like, on the radar as enemy object, and then they shot it down only to find out that it was actually a U.S. military fighter jet. Now, I want you to take a look at this particular news from Fox News. What they're saying is very similar to what this guy, Muhammad al-Bukhaiti, he said from Houthis political bureau in Al Jazeera. But before I play the video, just to remind you guys, most of my viewers are not subscribed. If you happen to be one of them, consider subscribing. Let's take a listen.
Our colleague there at Fox News, Lucas Tomlinson, correspondent there, he has quite a bit of a reporting here. This is exclusive to Fox. He has it, that a second U.S. Navy fighter jet narrowly avoided being shot down in quote-unquote friendly fire incident when a second missile passed within 100 feet, according to a source there. So we want to talk about this even further with our friend, national security analyst and expert and Marine intelligence officer, Hal Kempfer. He joins me. Hal, thanks for being with us here on this Christmas Eve. We wanted to get you on with this story. I have more of the reporting in front of me here, and I want to read it. So this is exclusive to Fox. Lucas reporting on the same night a U.S. Navy fighter jet was shot down over the Red Sea. A second jet nearly suffered the same fate. An FA-18 Super Hornet, flying a few miles behind the Hornet that was shot down, was forced to take evasive maneuvers after a second surface-to-air missile was fired from the cruiser, the USS Gettysburg, narrowly missing the second jet by 100 feet while preparing to land aboard the aircraft carrier, the Harry S. Truman, there in the Middle East. Hal, I got to ask.
Okay, so before he asks the question, what we see here is something that is pointing directly to the fact that U.S. Navy right now, they're operating in the Red Sea with quite a bit of risk because of the ongoing attack on the Houthi military targets in Sana'a and also the Hudaydah port in Yemen. They are coming under attack. This attack on this fighter jet, FA-18, came on the same night when Houthis, they launched counterattack after U.S. attacked them. If you say that there is no connection between these two, then you'll be quite mistaken, because it makes sense when you target your enemy, they're going to come after you. Now, as I said, Muhammad al-Bukhaiti, he said it was not a drone or a missile from the Houthis that brought down that fighter jet, but it is because of the numerous drones and projectiles that Houthis are launching into the Red Sea, targeting U.S. Navy ships, that jammed the whole radar system, the radio communication and also the radar communication, both kind of communication, they were disrupted. And so Gettysburg, the ship that shot that fighter jet, mistook that for a enemy fighter jet when it was actually one of their own. And this is exactly what this analyst, this expert, will tell you.
You know, how often does this happen? Does this happen more often than we know about? A second instance on the very same occasion, almost, very, very close.
Andrew, as far as I know, something like this involving F-18 aircraft and involving aircraft altogether is pretty rare. Frankly, I'm scratching my head if I can find a similar situation. Now, certainly if you go back to World War II, where you had these huge air fights, these air battles going over carrier task forces, you know, yes, of course, there could have been some friendly fire incidents, and I don't think those were very well recorded back then. But they didn't have all the sophisticated systems, all the identification of friend or foe systems that we have built into the technology these days. So it's really questionable. Now, what's coming out on this is that the Gettysburg had recently gone through a retrofit, if you will, an upgrade of its electronic systems to include its air defense system. That could be part of it. It could be some glitch in there. What we're hearing informally is that the pilots, or maybe the command of the Harry S. Truman, the aircraft carrier, believe that there may have been a training deficiency with the Gettysburg crew, and that may be responsible for what happened. But what happened was, apparently.
Okay, so if we accept that there was a glitch in the system for which they misfired that missile towards their own fighter jet, then the obvious consequence for that would be that U.S. will, all the Navy fleet that are operating in Red Sea should be called back. They should go back to their docks in the States and not operate, because if they're operating under this faulty system, that would definitely mean that this kind of incident will happen again and again. Normally, when we see that when they do an air crash investigation, if they find anything faulty, like faulty parts or faulty whatever it is, they bring down the entire fleet of those commercial planes. If it is true with this scenario where this Navy fleet operating in in the Red Sea have faulty equipments or faulty software or malfunctioning things going on, then the obvious thing that they should be doing, like what they do with the commercial plane, is that they will bring all them back and abandon or abort the mission for now, right? But that's not what is happening. It is therefore very, very suspicious to all of us what is actually going on. Should we trust US's explanation, the military explanation, or should we trust the Houthis? To me, it looks like if we go with the Houthis, what they're claiming, it would make more sense that the system is not at fault. Rather, it is the enemy who is jamming the radar system, the radio system, for which US is doing this kind of friendly firing thing.
They took two F-18s under fire the same night, approximately the same time. The first one, it sounds like, and there's still more information flowing in on this, may have been engaged in doing what's called a tanker operation. The F-18 can be actually fitted with four 480-gallon fuel pods with a hose that basically can fuel up another aircraft aloft, and it was coming in. Again, information's kind of rough, but it may have been coming in to land on the Truman when it was taken under fire, and that missile that took down the first aircraft, that the pilot and the weapons officer in the back literally punched out of the aircraft seconds before it was hit. I mean, it was like within a few seconds. and so they survived. The second aircraft was taken under fire, and the Gettysburg had to disable the guidance system on, and they have a way that they can do that electronically on the missile itself, and that missile missed the second aircraft by 100 feet.
Yeah.
This is just I have to tell you, in terms of airspace control,
Okay.
this is a catastrophic failure.
Okay, so again, he did admit that this is a catastrophic failure. Then why don't you call all of them back home? Why don't you call all of these Navy ships operating in the Red Sea? Hey, guys, come back home because we have some big problem. This is catastrophic. If it happens again, we'll be in big trouble. We don't want to lose our fleet. We do not want to lose any of our personnel. So just abort it for now. Come back. We'll fix things, and then you can go back because Houthis, the U.S. is in the Red Sea right now for Israel. It's not for U.S. itself. They are there for Israel. So why would you take risk? Why would you kill your own crews from the ship in order to protect a different country? It doesn't make any sense. A lot of people, they pointed out what happened in, I believe, 1967 with USS Liberty, where U.S. ship was sunk or destroyed by Israel, shows the level of dominance they have. U.S., in other words, they're willing to lose their own military, their own army, their own personnel in order to protect Israel. This is almost exactly the same scenario here in the Red Sea, fighting against the Houthis, risking U.S.'s personnel's own life. Just so ridiculous.
So, Hal, what's the after action on this? Who's held responsible? How do you make sure it doesn't happen again? And I just want to provide the context. This was happening on the very same night that U.S. Central Command told us in a statement its forces were conducting precision airstrikes against a missile storage facility and a command and control facility operated by the Houthis within Houthi-controlled Yemen, there near the capital of Sana'a here. So is this just the cost of doing business, these operations?
Well, in some ways, yes. I mean, the Houthis are firing missiles, are firing drones. They don't have any fast movers like F-18s or something, but they do have drones and missiles that they fire in there, and that may have been part of the clutter, if you will, of the airspace.
So here we go. He admitted it. That indirectly that Houthis were most likely responsible or partly responsible. That's not what the U.S. Military want to admit. That's not what the U.S. government wants to admit. That it is because of this clutter, because of this overwhelming number of drones and missiles coming from Houthis, our system got jammed. That's not what the U.S. government wants to admit at all. Oh, no, these are all friendly fire. Things are just working normal. We are there. And the reason they're trying to find every excuse in the world possible is because they want to protect Israel. A foreign country putting your own soldiers, your own navies at risk.
Where the Gettysburg made this mistake. But with that said, this is the type of mistake that should not happen. And as you and I have talked about this offline. I have a background working with aircraft in very busy airspace. Calling in airstrikes, working with air officers, working with tactical air control party personnel to make sure this sort of thing is deconflicted. U.S. forces worldwide have worked extremely hard at trying to deconflict stuff, and mistakes do happen. Friendly fire incidents do happen. And when Desert Storm, we had some very famous friendly fire incidents that happened involving airstrikes where we fired on our own forces. We have training exercises. A good friend of mine had a naval officer actually
during those friendly fires that he's quoting here, Desert Storm and all that, countries did not have drones the way they have today. They didn't have missiles the way they have today. Houthis, they have, and Hezbollah, all of these militia groups or entities, they have huge stockpile of drones and missiles, unlike in the past. So yes, he does want to admit that maybe part of the reason why we had this friendly fire and had this catastrophic incident was because of Houthis. But at the same time, he's like, oh no, it happened in the past, not to worry too much about it. Nobody's buying that narrative. I'm not buying it. I mean, a lot of people who disagree that this was a sheer friendly fire. Once happened, okay, maybe there was a mistake, even though we believed the first time it was not a mistake, it was not a friendly fire, it was because of Houthi missiles and drones. But the second time you make the same mistake almost in matter of just few hours, it doesn't make any sense.
An airstrike in on his own position during a training exercise. So these things do happen, but we have a lot of safeguards to prevent this. Now, as far as what will happen, that's going to be a big question. If it's a technical glitch, then somebody on the technology side is going to get hit on this. If it's a training glitch or command glitch, that's where you're going to talk about possible relief of command, not just of the Gettysburg, but my guess is that it will go beyond that. You're going to be looking at everybody from the Combat Information Center, the CIC, that controls where this is happening in there, who's the watch officer, who is making the calls. Obviously, the captain of the ship maintains full responsibility. But if it's a training glitch, if they force that ship to sea before the crew was ready to go, if they made a decision like...
Well, the problem with that is we will never know what kind of glitch is that. U.S. government will hide it. U.S. military will hide it. Pentagon will never tell us, just like they did not tell us anything about those drones flying in New Jersey or New York. They will never tell us anything about the glitch, if there is a glitch. And, of course, all the while they'll be lying. Oh, it was just a friendly fire. Of course, right now situation is escalating, and Houthis, if they know that their drones, missiles, they're working and they're jamming US's radar system, then guess what? Houthis are gonna wreak havoc on its military, and because they're finding more weakness in US, those systems that they're using in the Red Sea. Of course, China is taking notice of that too. Russia is taking notice of that too. Iran is taking notice of that too. So the whole world is watching how US is going to react to this and how they will counter it. And every country knows through this kind of incidents they can find those holes in the US system that they can take advantage of. So of course, US military, US government will never tell us their weaknesses, but at the same time they would rather die for Israel than to call those crews back to United States. Would we see this kind of incident again and again? Most likely. Would U.S. stop supporting, helping Israel? I don't think so. They will let their own personnel get killed to save Israel.